Hello, welcome to another episode of Fantastic Books and Where to Find Them. I'm Brent, and today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite stories from our general fiction collection, specifically sci-fi and fantasy category. So, first up, we have Sufficiently Advanced Magic by Andrew Rowe. This book is book 1 in the Arcane Ascension series. It is heavily inspired by dungeon crawlers and RPGs. So if you or anyone you know really likes Dungeons and Dragons or the Dragon Age video game series or something along those lines, definitely check this series out. It's a ton of fun and has a lot of those elements in the style of writing and the world it takes place in. It follows Corin, who has just become of age where he can go into the Spire. In this world, the different countries on this continent have these spires in them that are magical towers where there's all sorts of monsters. Each floor is a different puzzle that could kill you potentially. And if you get to the top, legend says that the goddess resides at the top of each of these towers, and she'll grant any wish that you have. So you have people who become professional climbers to not necessarily try and reach the top, but see how far they can get and get all sorts of different magical artifacts and items from slaying the monsters in the tower and completing the different rooms. So Corin just became of age where he could enter the tower for the first time, and when you enter the tower for the first time, you earn your attunement if you survive the trial. And the attunements come in all sorts of different styles, and this is this world's magic. So if you survive and you get your attunement, you're now a magic wielder. He wants to become as strong as he can through any means necessary. He is not the most powerful magic wielder, but he will always look for basically loopholes in the way that the magic of this world works to try and up his abilities. And he wants to do this because he actually lost his older brother to a tower climb. He went into the tower and never came back, and so Corin is determined to get back into the tower as a professional climber and either find him or find the goddess and have her reunite him with his brother. Needless to say, things don't go as planned, and there are various complications that arise, and there's a bunch of behind-the-scenes things that are happening in this world with the different countries and the different towers and the different beings that inhabit them. And so it is a very, very cool fantasy magic combat series, but there's also a lot of intrigue and mystery happening in the background that is very exciting. So next up, we have the Dresden Files series by Jim Butcher. This one, Skin Game, is actually book 15 of the series. Book 1 is Stormfront. Dresden Files is a great modern-day fantasy series. It follows Harry Dresden, who lives in Chicago, and in this world, magic exists, but no one believes it does. So it's kind of similar to our world, where you have everyone who might believe in some things, but is kind of like, supernatural stuff that doesn't exist. Harry is a private investigator in Chicago and openly advertises that he is a wizard. Needless to say, a lot of people don't believe him, but he always ends up getting involved in different cases that seem to have something supernatural going on, and then he also is always helping the police when they end up getting involved in a case that they can't solve, and they know something is happening, but they don't know what, because it ends up being supernatural. I really like this series because it has a ton of interesting characters, and even though it is a very long series, it hasn't lost my interest. Book 16 just released this summer, and it's been announced that book 17 is coming out this fall. So now is the perfect time to either get into the series or start rereading it. It starts off with kind of introducing you to this world and different cases that Harry takes on. But as the series goes forward, I love it because it starts to weave all of them together, and you start to see that events that occurred in the earlier books that seemed like they just happened because they happen, you start to find out that there are people behind the scenes starting to kind of pull strings, and you're getting hints at maybe everything isn't as independent as it all seemed. So last is the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. That is the pen name for the two authors that co-write this series. This one here is book 2. Book 1 of the series is Leviathan Wakes. If the Expanse sounds familiar, this book series is the source material for the TV show that started on Sci-Fi and then later got picked up by Amazon's streaming service. So this one is kind of a far future sci-fi. Humanity has gained interplanetary travel, so we're still in the solar system. And so there's the colonies on Earth, and we've got people living on Mars and out in the asteroid belt. They've all been around for a while, so they've all each independently kind of developed their own unique culture. And so tensions are starting to rise between these two groups as Earth still is trying to control a lot of what happens in the solar system, and the people who live in the belt are kind of like, we don't want to be under your rule. You're so far away. You have no idea what's going on out here. Mars is kind of in a similar situation with dealing with everyone else, where they just kind of want to be able to do their own thing. And so Holden, one of the main characters, and his crew get dragged into an incident that has the potential to start a war between all these different factions. And one of the things that I really like about the series is it is one that will jump between perspectives of characters. So as all these different events occur, you get to see what each of the crew members feel about what they're doing and their thoughts on how they should proceed and how everything will impact them. So it's really, really interesting. It's another series where there's a lot going on that seems independent of one another, as you're also introduced to a detective in book 1 who's searching for a missing girl, and you slowly start to put the puzzle pieces together as the book goes on of how his story is connected to everything that Holden and the crew are dealing with. So those are a few of my favorites from our general fiction collection. All of these titles can be put on hold if you give us a call or go online. They can also be accessed through our e-catalog, so you can use them through Libby or Hoopla, and you can also always give us a call or shoot us a message if you need help setting either of those up. And we'll see you next time for another episode of Fantastic Books and Where to Find Them.